Bengali people don't understand profit.
Calcutta, it's like poetry is bigger than profit, which is exactly opposite to Gujaratis.
Kolkata Cartwheel was the initial idea where fastest also came from.
There are more roll shops in Calcutta than even shops.
What light bulb moment happened in your brain?
Food is the only consumer goods where people's use cases are segments and not people. Either you drive a Maruti or a Mercedes, fly business class or coach. With food, you have the 20 rupee chai, but also go to a fine dine restaurant. We realize that we have a massive opportunity. FMCG companies have done it forever. Different brand, different use case. Find a great product, fit into that 2x2, launch slowly, test, get to PMF, defined by what customers are saying and whether we are making money. Then it is ready for scale. Like this South Indian brand I was talking about, we launched it in May, 4 months. It's already close to 100 crore brand. Yeah. That's the power.
Slay Coffee, 1 to 80 lakhs is insane.
When we got Wendy's, we had zero sales. Now ARR is 250 crore. This has happened within 2.5 years. Smooth, when we bought, it was a 70 crore brand. Now it is a 200.
What's your core strength?
I have this 2x2, clever and stupid, hardworking and lazy.
Lazy and clever people are best for scale because they make systems happen.
So there is actually a great book that every entrepreneur should read called Founder Mentality. They talk about 3 things. One is a mission-driven character. Second, they behave like owners. They think long-term, they're frugal. And third is frontline obsessed. They are not thinking about sitting in an ivory tower or just doing Excel sheets.
What are the failures? Must be a difficult period also.
I struggled a lot with that thought. There were times when I had to request my daughter's school to postpone the fees for a couple of months.
Is there any regret that you have in the last 15 years?
Many.
आपने वो बात बोली थी, I read in some article that you had mentioned that Bengali people don't understand profit. ऐसा कुछ था. What was that?
But it's true. Like my parents were teachers, you know, and in Calcutta, because we grew up in a time when there was this communist, power. So people generally looked at businessmen as, must have stolen something or, not ethical, etc. And which is exactly opposite to Gujaratis, if you think about it. And in Calcutta, it's like, poetry is bigger than profit. So, and I think even at Rebel, I think there are other people in the team who are much better in like the financial savvy than I'll ever be. So, and I think that's, but I can't do anything about it, sort of how I was.
What's your core strength? आप क्या देखते हो? Like हमेशा से.
Sorry?
What's your core strength been? Like you said that finance is like more CFO and all that, but like what is it something you are passionate about?
See, I am passionate about, building something that hasn't happened in the past. That gives me most energy. Like creating a new brand, creating a new concept. And our model is itself quite different from anything that existed. These things give me like big highs. So I think I actually feel that most businesses need to have 2 kinds of people. One is people like me who like imaginative or creative to the point that actually disturb.
Visionary kind of people.
Yeah, visionary is a big word, but I just feel like people who get excited through creation. And then the other people who are great at running it on time,
Execution people.
Execution. And you need both kinds. If you don't have both kinds, then either the ambition is not big or you're not, creating something incredible, or you have all the thoughts, but, at scale. I have this, 2x2, which is clever and stupid, hardworking and lazy. So
talk about it.
Lazy and clever are the people I believe are great
People can scale the businesses.
So where did you hear this?
Just research.
It's there?
Yeah. I read a lot about it. So you mentioned lazy and clever people are best for scale because they make systems happen.
Yeah.
So like good for 10 to 100 or like beyond.
Yeah.
But you're mentioning Kolkata and all that. I remember my brother lives in Jaipur and there's a Kolkata Kathi roll place in Jaipur as well. And I think your articles also mentioned that Kolkata Cartwheel was the initial idea where Fasos also came from. So from a case study lens, like if you talk about Fasos, and let's keep Rebel aside for a second, 2011 or even before that when you were trying it for the first time, let's talk about that. Like तब कैसे आया था आइडिया, PMF प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट आपने क्या सोचा था, व्हाट वाज द इनिशियल थॉट देयर? तब तो इतना इतना दिमाग नहीं लगा कि टेक बनाएंगे, ऑल ऑफ दैट यू वुड बी लाइक एनी 25-year-old बैक देन. सो तब क्या थॉट प्रोसेस था?
Yeah, so as you correctly pointed out, there are more roll shops in Calcutta than even cigarette shops, and our Bengalis are heavy smokers, as we know. I mean, at least used to be. But and we grew up on that. I remember right outside of my school, there was this guy who had like a small kiosk. Used to make rolls, egg rolls, chicken roll, mutton roll, 3 types of rolls. It used to cost us like 10 rupees maybe back then, 10, maybe 15 rupees. Once I moved out of Calcutta and I started working in Pune, and then I was traveling to US and UK on business trips.
These are the Oneida days.
Sorry?
These are the Oneida days?
This is Brain Visa.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was like really missing that food, and I loved it. Loved that food. And, I was thinking that there are burgers and pizzas in the world where the concept is very similar, right? Where you have a base or a bun, and then you have a filling or topping. If you really think about rolls, it's exactly the same. There is a wrapper and there is a filling, right? And obviously in the US there was Chipotle, which was doing this wrapper and filling thing. So I just felt that if we could do a good job of the wrapper and the filling, that there could be something there, And I was missing the food primarily. Kallol and I both were missing the food. And then, I picked up a guy who used to run a roll shop next to my father's college in Calcutta. In fact, my father recruited him. Stood outside the store, and once he came out and said, "Do you want to go to Pune? I have something."
Oh, you got him from Calcutta to Pune.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So got that guy. Started one store, like hole in the wall. I remember, borrowing 4 lakh rupees from Anand's father. Anand was one of the co-founders at Brain Visa. And yeah, that's how it started. Just, I would say, we were not doing any market sizing, how big it could be and all of that. Just, missing the food. How can I get the
Sheer
food?
problem from personal. Yeah. Then you just started.
Yeah, just started.
You had no experience in like running a restaurant business.
No,
nothing
not at all. Not at all. But both Kolkata and I, we understand food. We love like eating out and all of that. And there was this gap in my life, which was I was not getting the roles. So why not make it? And then the concept felt like something that could be, that could be as big as burgers or pizzas eventually.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, that's how.
Quickly, if you can share, before you went to NCR, how long did that roll shop and what was the revenue like at that time? What was the scale like?
They were. We started with one in 2002, and we put another in 2004.
Pune.
In Pune. So there were 2 stores. Scale would be maybe a couple of lakhs a month.
Yeah, this is just for like audience for them to understand कितना छोटा scale था and
yeah. 2-3 lakh होगा महीने का. Similar, the second store started doing better because we learned from the first store.
And you were working parallelly?
No, I was doing this full time.
Okay, got it.
Kallol was still working, and we chose it like that so that we don't put everything in this basket. And yeah, so those are the that was the business. And then we went to NCR, and before that, I had given this 2 stores to. In fact, we had a 3rd store which was a franchisee store. This was in FC Road in Pune. And then the guy who was running that franchisee, he and another person who was working with us, we said, you guys take it over, you run it and give us some royalty. And I think we had our differences over time, etc. They went their own way once I came back, a couple of years after I came back. But during that time, they did a good job of preserving the brand, running it frugally, without wasting money, and then the love for the product was there in customers. Especially, I still get people tell me, I still have people tell me that they used to have FASOS roles when they were students in MIT or some other college, etc. So a lot of people grew up with that. And in fact, once we started, there was 3-4 other companies started the same thing in Pune, I remember.
Sure.
So and then when I came back, there were, I think, 4 stores.
So I want to also know what light bulb moment happened in your brain, because from my perspective, I'll share and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you stopped. You went abroad, you studied MBA, you did all of that. You came back and then you were much better prepared to scale a business, run a business. 2011 also you raised your first round, and then of course that's where the story starts. But to have that insight was maybe I see it like this, but to have that insight that this is not the right time. Let me go study abroad, figure out how to scale a business, how to run a business, because I think you mentioned a couple of places that experience of 2 years taught you a lot about how to build a business. And then you worked 4 years in McKinsey as well, which is where you learned how to run and scale businesses. How did you have that insight ki abhi nahi karte? Because you already went into the entrepreneurial journey. Did you realize something? Then you took a pause. What happened there?
See, I was feeling kind of stuck. It was less of an insight that that if I have more knowledge or anything, this will be better. I was just feeling stuck because, I want to do something with my life, but, having 2 stores, after a point in time, it didn't feel like this could be my livelihood, honestly speaking.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
And then I realized that, why don't I go away? And I actually never thought that I would come back and run this. Okay, at least not consciously. Maybe at the back of my mind, it was there that kabhi to aayenge, kuch to karenge. But I went to INSEAD. At INSEAD, I had a big loan, etc. So had to pay off, had to get a good job or whatever. So, but I think I really learned how to look at a business from outside and find the insights in that business at McKinsey. Because that was the work I was doing. Consulting a CEO, when I was not even 30, and with no prior knowledge about an industry. People say all sorts of bad things, all sorts of things about McKinsey, and sometimes I also do. But this ability to look at a business from an outsider's lens and find core first principle driven insights is what I learned at McKinsey, and I love that.
Yeah.
People might say consulting is whatever. It's like there was a saying that we changed the world one PowerPoint slide at a time. So, but it was much more than that for me. And I think it's an extension of business school. It doesn't have to be McKinsey. Any consulting is a great thing to, or any other consulting is a great thing to do for a 25-year-old because it gives that ability to assimilate information very, very quickly, find insights, etc. I don't think there is any other job that gives that. At least for me, it was tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, I recorded a podcast with Anant also, Mensa's founder. He's also ex-McKinsey.
Yeah.
And something similar which I see is he also is running a large business. Like when he came back to India, he was the CEO of Mitra, and then of course Mensa/brand.me.
Yeah.
And he's running also multiple brands like House of Brands with D2C and all that. Again, incredibly good at running large scale businesses, structure, process. What in McKinsey is taught? Like you mentioned first principle and all, but what exactly can a 25-year-old learn? अगर उसको McKinsey नहीं मिल रहा है, Wayne नहीं मिल रहा है, वो कैसे सीख सकता है? Because while you're in the business, I run a business since 4 years, I can relate to you in the sense that what I don't know. I don't have this knowledge that you have in terms of, you spent 4 years in McKinsey and you learned this art and science, whatever, the structures and processes. I don't know that. I'm still making mistakes, trying to learn it, but I don't have it. What can we do?
I think maybe two things. So one is simplifying a complex problem. You know, like sometimes we get overwhelmed by, what's happening, But in McKinsey, you have like 4 weeks to study a problem and then come up with a recommendation. So the first thing is you have to simplify. That's why I learned the 2x2s, like complex problems. I think any problem in the world can be sort of dissected in a very simple format, like a 2x2, etc. It makes your decision making faster and cut through the complexity and all of that. So that I think people should, like I still remember before, like a first avatar of Fasos, it was just a rolls business. Right? But then when I looked at it from the outside, 2010, 11, I could find things in that business very simply. I could articulate, okay, this is the crux of the business. So simplifying a complex matter is something that all entrepreneurs should do, because after some time it will become overwhelming. There's too much going on, right? If you can dissect it and make it simple. In fact, most things don't matter in business. Only a few things do, and finding that insight is important. I think that's one. The second, I believe, which in McKinsey we used to do this hypothesis-driven approach. Right? So, like on day one of a case or a project, you need to, based on the facts that you need to have a hypothesis. Okay, this looks like what the problem is, and this looks like what the solution is. And then throughout that study, you either prove or disprove that hypothesis. So I think, and that is where judgment comes from. As a business run at scale, like there's so much uncertainty, etc. You need to have a hypothesis. Okay, this is what I think is the problem is, and you may be proven wrong, but at least it gives you an anchor to do your analysis, to do your data, and all of that. So I think these are the two things I think anybody can do. I mean, there's nothing special in this. I think it's more like a mental attitude towards solving problems.
Got it. Yeah. So basically, before MBA and before McKinsey, you were looking at, like, it was a passion project, basically.
Yeah.
Fasos was a passion project. After you came back to India in 2010, 11, something else happened that you saw an opportunity to build a big business. Is that it?
Absolutely.
What changed in terms of the insight? You were just coming to that insight.
So we realized, and then later on the insight got corrected insight evolved as we went along. But I realized that, as a format, number one, this wraps is very scalable. Because if you can solve the making of the wrapper, and the fillings could be infinite. Okay, so that's one. Second is, typically, if you think about restaurant business, you think of big places and where you go, etc. But wraps, we realized from day one, it's mostly about convenience. So our first tagline was wraps on the run. And as a result, we can keep the fixed cost low because we don't have to have a big ass place. Mostly takeaway. Delivery was just coming about back then. So that was an insight that it could be a capex light model without the big spendings of interior decor, etc., and all of that. So these two insights, and there was actually something else that was happening in India very similar, which is Domino's. Domino's went public, I think 2009 or 10, and those numbers were there, and it was very clear that Domino's got to a model which is takeaway, delivery centric, small format store. I still remember some of the Domino stores used to have like 1-2 chairs, etc. So mostly delivery and takeaway. And then the public filing disclosed the capex efficiency, the capital efficiency, the scalability, and all of that. So that was the insight. Very scalable, can be very capital efficient.
Yeah.
And this is what I also put in a one page. I have this habit of writing things when I'm grappling with it, and stick to one pager so that it's simple. And I remember sending the same one pager to GV at Sequoia back then.
The subject was building dominoes for rules, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. And yeah, so that was the insight, I think, which felt like something that could be my life's work, at that point in time.
So basically that experience taught you a lot of structural thinking. You started thinking scale, and again, it moved from a passion project to like a proper business.
A proper business, which could be scaled and all of that.
Okay, perfect.
The third point about Fastsos was this, one is scalability, the other was capital efficiency. The third was infinite, create opportunity of an infinite canvas, which is the fillings could be anything. It could be a chicken tikka, it could be meatballs, or it could be vegetarian kebabs, or anything under the sun.
Right.
And that was also very exciting for me. That this could be anything under the sun eventually.
Perfect. And at this moment, like 2011, 2012, what do you think were your skill set at that moment? Like we also try to parallelly see 2015, which new skills you developed, and like 2025 today. But like 2011, after McKinsey and MBA and after the fundraise, what would you rate Jaydeep as in terms of skills? क्या skills आपके पास थी तब? Like what were you good at? What were you focusing on?
Yeah, I was. I think I had a. I actually remember the skills that I didn't have, to be honest.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Number one, I was very short-tempered. Like, there are horror stories at Rebel, and I'm grateful to the people who stuck by me all these years, in spite of me being a complete, short fuse person. I remember I used to have a driver in Bombay because I almost broke my back traveling in an auto. So I took a driver, and that guy once came into the car wearing a helmet. I was like, "Tu helmet क्यों पहना है?" तो he said, कभी-कभी आप मोबाइल फेंकते हो ना गुस्से में, तो मेरे को लगा कि कभी लग जाएगा, So it used to be that violent, So really bad. So short temper, short fuse was a problem. And I think that is the dimension I have moved the most in 10 years or 13, 14 years. That I can process information in a much calmer way than I used to be back then. But, I always had an ability to go through a problem, outbursts aside, and keep at it. I think that was my superpower back then, because there were problems, like you were saying, the other story that you were talking about, the restaurant business.
Yeah.
It was like every day it is a new chaos, and anything could happen, like absolutely anything. Local dadas coming to the store, doing some halla, and वहाँ से लेके some police commissioner coming or some political leader coming to some customer getting like super angry, anything and everything. I still remember, I picked up, after a couple of years, I picked up swimming again, and I used to keep the phone on one end of the swimming pool. After every lap, I will check, whether something has.
What do I need to solve now?
yeah. So it was just, and I think just the staying power, I would say that was my biggest skill back then. And then over time, I learned, building a good team. I think that was that I think it's, and building culture, etc. I think it got seeded back in 2012, I would say. And the company that we see today is because of a few things I had done back then, like recruiting the core team that runs Rebel. And
yeah, can you talk about that also? Like the
Yeah.
core team. That's a great story to
yeah,
listen to. No CV, no nothing.
yeah,
Only.
yeah. And it continues. Like first couple of years, I was like 2011, part of 12, I was trying to get people from the industry, food industry, like a Domino's or a McDonald's or something.
Sure, makes sense.
But I realized that, why would someone who is doing really well at Domino's come to me? So I was actually getting probably the poorer sort of talent. I was not working out, honestly. And then Kolkata and I discussed this, and we said, okay, what do we want? What kind of talent do we want? We realized we would need people who would come on board, take like full ownership, do the hard yards, won't think about pedigree, baggage, and especially baggage, because we don't want people who have worked in a restaurant, because we are trying to build something new. Nobody has done like a wraps chain in the world before us, or at least in India before us. So we do, and in a capital efficient way. So it's different from many things out there. So we need that, ownership, first principle thinking, that hunger of building something. And which is how, and then we realize that sometimes we get CVs and they're like full of, the CVs are meant to make a person look good. You really don't understand the person. And here we are not looking at whether the person is a great salesman or something else, So we just said, okay, you have to write in. You have to say, why we want to join Rebel at that time, Fasos, what motivates you. And also we didn't want absolute freshers from MBS B schools, because we realized that, like I also, when you go and do an MBA, you want to work for Goldman Sachs or McKinsey or whatever. You don't know what it is, what the outside world is. So after a year of like absolute absurdities, you kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, I have to do something meaningful. So that's the email I wrote. Again, a one-pager email, and it kind of went viral by the standards back then. And we got like a massive number of applications. So that shows.
You tweeted it.
Yeah.
You tweeted it.
Yeah, I tweeted it, but I also put it in all the groups. Email groups used to be big thing back then. And, we're really surprised by the response, People working in Unilever, Vodafone, Bain, McKinsey, we saw all sorts of applications. Obviously, we didn't look at the CV part of it, what people did, but we looked at what people wrote. And we did a bunch of interviews. We actually rejected people who sent CVs. That means they didn't even read my email. They were just applying for the sake of it. And we apply those principles even today. We want people to be applying to Rebel when they feel an inner pull about Rebel. Not when they're applying randomly. Because that's the first screening. People who would, like recently I was hiring an investment associate to work with me. I did a LinkedIn post on that. Just describe exactly like what I did 12 years back. Asking people to tell me, what they know about Buffett and Munger. The greatest. Like if you're a tennis player, you would know about Roger Federer. If you're an investor, and then you would know about Buffett and Munger. And then what have you learned and all of that. Some of the responses, I learned a lot reading through I went through about 300 responses to that email, like last month. So, and then the playbook for recruiting like this started back then. And so into 2012, we recruited about 8 people through this process, And I don't want to take any undue credit, or I am not boasting, but what Rebel today is because of that one seminal moment in our company. 8 people came on board. One of them is now running Rebel as the CEO of the business. 3 of them went out and started their own companies. Shashank is the founder of Whole Truth, Revant.
Yeah.
You know these guys, right?
Mosaic Wellness,
Yeah. And so I think that was the best call we've ever made in our business. And then we realized that over time we codified it a little bit. Now we call this character founder mentality. Like, in a nutshell, what is founder mentality? So there is actually a great book that every entrepreneur should read, called Founder Mentality by Chris Zook and James Allen. And founder mentality, basically they talk about three things. One is a mission-driven character, like someone who gets excited by a mission or a purpose. Second, they behave like owners. Like, how do owners behave? They think long term. They're frugal. They won't splurge money, etc., and all of that. And third is frontline obsessed. So people who think about frontline, they are not thinking about sitting in an ivory tower or just doing Excel sheets. They're thinking about frontline people, customers, etc. So today, if you look at 7 values of Rebel, they are components of these three things. Okay. Mission-driven, owner's mindset, and frontline obsessed. And now over time, we just look at every candidate. Doesn't matter, which position, whether they have this founder mentality or not. And we've been wrong, and there were times we got dazzled by CVs, etc., and all of that. But we've gotten better at identifying this. And what happens is, there's also some amount of self-selection that happens. So these are the kind of people who would come and thrive at Rebel. Okay. And we put this out as a culture deck to every applicant, saying that, okay, we are looking for these characters. So some people realize, okay, this is not for me. Like, and as a result, there's increasing self-selection that happens at Rebel. And like right now, across the company, I know who are the next 10 people each of whom can be Rebel CEO 10 years down the line. Because these are tremendous on founder mentality, and obviously they have performed well and all of that. Over time, I realized that there are functions where you need experts. Like you don't reinvent finance. In which case you need to find a person with experience but founder mentality. So again, a simple 2x2: founder mentality, experience. Anybody who's starting a company needs people who are low on experience but high on founder mentality.
Yeah, 100%.
Because
generalists
who can figure things out, etc. But as you grow, as you scale, you need experience. So, but you still need to find people with founder mentality. Like our CFO Ayush, who comes with 15 years of finance experience, but
expert founder mentality.
Yeah, but tremendous founder mentality, and today he is a co-founder. So this is the culture playbook that started back then, and obviously it got fine-tuned and all of that. But fundamentally, I believe there are few things I would do again if I had to do Rebel, and there are many things that I won't do. But this is one of the things that I would do again if I had to start Rebel.
So will over skill any day.
Will over skill any day, and will and skill for some positions.
Sure. So before I move on, I just want I want to go deeper into this and more simplified version. Again, let's say a 25-year-old is watching this, started a company, 10 people, 20 people company. What would you tell them in terms of how should they hire? If I take my example, only 50 people is the number of people in my team, and I struggle with hiring a lot. I will try to post it on my LinkedIn and Instagram, and because I have followers, I'll get a lot of responses. But I'll be so annoyed with the 90% of the response, and what is this? I'll just whatever. I'll just skip it, or I'll hire some best person, whoever. And I know they are probably the best in the email that are coming, but they're probably not the best for the company. What would you suggest to someone like me and someone who's watching this? How should we hire? You mentioned inbound, but
First of all, I think it has to be crystal clear in your mind what kind of person you want in your company. Maybe distill it down to 4 or 5 character traits. Okay. Like I was saying, we have the 7 values, etc. Do it. And then you when you put it out, you put what your company is, what the purpose is. That's important, because when people get attracted by purpose, that ticks the first box of founder mentality, that people are excited about the purpose. It's not only 9 to 5 or whatever. Maybe it's working hours has nothing to do with this. It's about I get excited by the 100%. Prospect of the purpose of this company, and you do it so that there is some self-selection. And today, the responses people write through ChatGPT, etc., which was not the problem back then in 2012, but now people would, like, I put up this post and I went to ChatGPT and said, do you know what Jaydeep Barman posted? Can you write an application for that post? And nice. ChatGPT wrote an application for that. So it's tougher nowadays to really know who has written it, whose thoughts those are. But there I would say look for unusual insights, something that is outside of like normal stuff. And I actually read through 300 applications for this post. And it was very clear, like at first glance, where the insights are, whether there is something unusual. Like I asked for three unobvious insights from Buffett and Muncher. Okay. And I know 90% of the people will write the same things, which ChatGPT would give like in the same ballpark. Okay, what the three insights are. But then I found some people who actually, came up with an insight which is very good. So that's another thing. Very you should ask for a task, because that
sets you apart.
Because then somebody has to make that effort to do a task, whatever that task is. So that's one. And then during interview, it is very clear who is, and then you shortlist based on that. And then during interview, you would get to know who has actually written it and what, what kind of deep thinking actually that person has done. It comes very clear. And there are a couple of questions I always ask in interviews. One is describe a failure. Because a lot of people talk about, what your strengths are and what your successes are. But when someone describes a failure, it is, you can see through that person. Typical responses are, the timing was bad and the company culture was not good. My boss was not great. Some blame game, etc. But the people with ownership, they will always say that I screwed up, and it was my mistake and this is what I learned from it. And that I've seen, not 100%, but great correlation between like owning a problem and, in my 12, 13 years, I've seen this question gave me the biggest insight into a person. And go deep, really go through it. People, there is this concept called insecure overachievers, which is like people who are insecure and that
drives them to.
Drives them. That you will find in these people. They are not, they're not externalizing. They're thinking of what I could have done better.
They're only blaming themselves only.
Yeah, blaming themselves. Also learned from it, not making the same mistakes 20 times. So, yeah. So I would say, that's how it should happen. Because when we recruited these 12 people, or 8 people back in 2012, we were like this. We didn't know how to do it. But our it came from within, that we need people like us, not industry veterans, need to have this kind of traits, talked about those traits, asked them to submit a write-up. Back then it was tougher because there was no ChatGPT, but
Got it. How much time did it take you for hiring these 8 people?
I think 2 batches, it took about a year.
No, that's another thing. Hire, like put in time, energy, money into your top hires.
Because you can't short circuit that. It should never be, I need someone tomorrow. And it never like that. It's never like that. Because sometimes you feel like you need somebody tomorrow, but if you really think about it, you would think, I need someone who would get this done for the next 3 years.
Right.
Doesn't matter if that person comes, a month here and there or 2 months here and there. It won't matter in the long run.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you for sharing the playbook. I'm going to use that for sure. Now, talking about failures, you mentioned failures. Before, again, I go to the success part of 2015, wherein you realize the insight that you should, go into the model wherein you'll just you shut the shops and all that. 12 to 15, the 3 years. What are the failures? I'm sure must be a difficult period also within the 3 years. What's happening? What do we do? What are we doing around all of that? If you can just share what happened in those 3 years in terms of struggles and failures specifically before that insight kicked in.
Yeah, I think the biggest one was our economics was not making sense. That was the biggest struggle we had, and which is where the idea of a kitchen came up fundamentally. But basically, I still remember we had a store in opposite Mumbai University in Kalina. It was a 100 square foot store, but the rent back then was like a couple of lakhs or something like that. Today it will be even more.
100 square feet?
Something like that.
That's a lot.
100, 150 square feet. Yeah. It's massive. So, and the quality of the infrastructure was very poor. There would be leaking, rains, etc. So it was the mismatch between, maybe not a couple of lakhs, maybe a lakh, I don't remember, but it was a humongous amount. Sure, 50% of business or something like that.
Yeah.
And the quality of the infrastructure and the price we are paying had no correlation. Had the quality of the infrastructure been good, then the store would look inviting. Maybe there'll be more footfall or something like that. And this was the time when delivery was not big. It was still, for us, it was higher than, anybody else. But we still had to, make money in the premise. So there was a big mismatch between what infrastructure we were getting, what we could do with that infrastructure, and the price we were paying. And this was, but what happens when you raise VC money is that you have to scale. So we were putting stores. Deep in our heart, we knew that the stores are not making money. But we had to put stores because we had some projection, etc., and all of that. By the way, I would say Sequoia, in spite of what you hear now, peak 15, what you hear in the overall, that's another thing I would do again. Taking money from Sequoia. Nobody can be more patient than these guys, and nobody can be more supportive than these guys. I don't know of any other VC firm who could play the long game that Sequoia played for us. Anyways, coming back to this, but we still had to put up stores. Stores were bleeding. Infrastructure was not good. As a result, the customer's experience was not good because, back now it has become much better, I would say. But back then, 12 years back, we also had a store in that gully in Lower Parel, opposite Peninsula Corporate Park. Same issue, massive rent. The infrastructure is like a hell, absolute disaster. Every monsoon, they would be I remember there was a store in Parel. For 3 months in a year, we had to close the shop because, the water will come in and we can't run the shop. But we will be paying rent for that. So it was like a, very, very tough time, I would say. And everything else is related to that because we were compromising on, because we had to save money, we were compromising on deck costs. It was a negative spiral. High rent. As a result, to make money, we would probably hire 2 less people. As a result, the customer experience will suffer, and then, as a result, the sale will not happen and, rent will become even larger as a percentage of sales. So whatever could go wrong went wrong back then. Yeah.
And what was going on in our head during that period? Just before the insight, I'll come to the insight of 2015 when you shifted, but what was going on in your head? Were you in negative spiral yourself in your mindset, or were you
I was. This was I talked about this, short fuse bit. This was the time I think it was at its worst. Because I was really not finding as I said, I had the ability to stay put, like keep at it. I don't think I've ever thought that, let me shut it and, go back to McKinsey or something like that. It never came to that, but there were many times we like really struggled, really personal finance also. Like, as it happened when I started Fast for the first time, 2003-04, my first daughter was born. And when I started the Fastest 2.0 in 2010, my second daughter was born. So like it coincided with the birth of my daughters, and I had a young family. They were habituated to like a certain lifestyle back in London, and I struggled a lot with that thought. I could go through anything, but there were times when I had to request my daughter's school to postpone the fees for a couple of months and things like that. So it was professionally, personally, probably a very, probably the toughest time.
2013-14.
Yeah, 2013-14, I would say.
What kept you going? Like,
yeah, hindsight is always everything makes sense in hindsight. But back then, I just couldn't quit, I think. Because as I said, I think the ability to take a lot of shit and still go through it, that's the only thing. Because at that time, I was not even sure that how to come out of it. It was not like I had an idea, right? So, yeah. So I think just keeping at it. See, there was one thing that was, I would say, which is the love for our product. People still loved the product. I could see people talking about the chicken bhuna wrap at Fast's is terrific. That probably was the only silver lining, that at least customers loved the products, and we had these business model issues which we needed to fix. But that if we hadn't gotten the product, to what it was back then, maybe I would have said, okay, this is not working anymore. But I think that was a silver lining in all this, chaos, I would say.
And how did the team come together with this insight? Like, how did that insight also come in? Like, you were looking to like, guys, let's sit together and solve this. What do we do next? How did that happen? What was the story like?
So, I think the biggest story back then was how we ran Bombay. So, there was this people, 8 of them were here. Someone was looking at technology, someone looking at finance. In fact, Revant was looking at finance back then. And then that left 5 of us. 5 of them and me. Kallol always has been something different, but let's say 6 of us. So we divided Bombay into 6 parts. I would say we go, take up, like someone takes the Western Belt, someone takes up New Bombay, etc. We go deep, solve the problem. Every evening we'll meet, exchange notes, etc. So there was like this daily sort of being on the field. And I have realized over time, whenever I'm like frustrated or stuck, going to the field gives tremendous energy. Because
and clarity,
learning, because you are like in the moment, you are shoulder to shoulder working with the team on the ground, you are interacting with the customer. It just makes your day much more fulfilling when you learn and you observe and all those things. So I think that's how the team kind of, and there was a little bit of rivalry also, whose zone is, including mine, whose zone is doing better, and so on and so forth. So that's how, and then, we in all this chaos, we said we'll start another city. So Raghav raised his hand and said, okay, I'll go and, start. Again, he drove down from Bombay with nothing, one car, and him and Kallol also went with him and started Bangalore. Again, this process of finding the first store, etc., etc. It just, the action, the execution, etc., kept us going. And none of us actually in the mode of quitting, in that sense that, it's not working. So there was there's chaos, struggle, etc. But we were all like putting our best, and I think in hindsight, it didn't occur to me back then. I was also in the trenches, so I was not being a reviewer saying, why is this shit happening? I'm actually on the ground trying to solve the problem along with everyone.
So they were also seeing you do the work and not just be like, ye nahi ho raha hai, wo nahi ho raha hai.
Correct. Because I was handling a zone and there was shit happening in my zone. So,
Makes sense. Yeah. That's a good insight.
Yeah. So I think that also, I was not thinking about it then, but later on I realized, that may have helped
100%.
the team to, just not as a reviewer, but also as a problem solver. Even today, the best review meetings happen when we are jointly trying to solve a problem, rather than me asking, "Achha, ye kyun nahi hua, wo kyun nahi hua?" And that's why honesty also comes up. Like in reviews, people are not guarded. Ki kuch bhi puchega, uska jawab dena hai. Instead, they're all thinking how to solve a problem. When I'm in that meeting, going into trying to decode what the problem is, etc. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. So then when did that insight come in? When did you make that switch? Like we'll shut the stores and sitting and we'll just do delivery only thing. That is 2015. When did that happen? After Bangalore, before Bangalore?
After Bangalore, actually we went to this conference, Sequoia conference, where Doug Leone was there. Sachin Tendulkar was the chief guest, I remember, in Goa. There, Doug was making a presentation on how founders, CEOs should behave. And I still remember that one slide he showed, which showed a river and then rocks in the river. He said the founder and the CEO's job is to remove the rocks, the frictions in the business, so that the business can flow smoothly. Very simple, most simple insights are the most powerful ones. And that night, Color and I was sitting in that resort, and we are thinking, that's a tremendous insight. And the biggest friction in our business is rent. The real estate. And by that time, delivery was doing, picking up, etc. And we were like, how to get rid of rent? And that's where that was the, let's say, the spark that kind of led to the thought. But then we looked at data, did the survey, asked our customers, have you been to our stores?
How did that happen?
So we had customer data because a lot of phone calls, we had a Fasos app back then.
Hands-on fully, like.
Yeah. So, and we saw people saying, okay, we've never been to Fasos store, but we love their apps, etc. So we realized that it warrants a pilot, that we not on the high street, but so our first kitchen came in Marol. Couple of things. We could afford a larger space, better infrastructure. Obviously the rent was much lower. Landlords struggle to rent out those places, so demand supply, so the prices are lower. And that worked. The first location worked. The delivery sale remained as is, and in fact over time it became better because
sale was happening online via, like, was it your app only?
Our app back then.
Quality was better.
Quality was better, and then sale was improving, which reduced our rent as a percentage. We could afford, more people maybe, and so the positive cycle started in the business once we had done that. And then I think by 2015, and we shut all shops, all front.
When did you realize that this model is it? Like, what metrics?
I think about 6 months in Marol.
Like, did it hit a metric? You were like, oh wow, this is
not a specific metric, but just working. We're making money. Customers are happy.
Profitable in that.
Profitable in that unit. The friction is gone. It felt like a much better business. Not only from an economics point of view, but from a running point of view.
Yeah.
It flowed freely. Let's say.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, this is what it has to be.
Got it.
And yeah, so that's how we went from. Now these things are cloud kitchen. Back then, that term was not there, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You sort of, by making mistakes and experimenting, you got into that cloud kitchen
Absolutely.
model.
Absolutely.
I think this is the first half of like the journey, and now we get into the second half wherein suddenly there's like a compounding of growth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like 2016, you open so many dark stores, and then multiple brands start coming in and they start doing revenue. We'll get into that journey. 2015, Marvel is the first store you opened. Then what happened? Like, if you can get into the Fasos expansion plan, you shut the stores, and this is parallel Faso. This is only Faso, right? Not brand. If you can go deep into the expansion plan limitations and all that, what was happening?
So, so we started expanding. We opened more cities. We opened Delhi NCR. Bangalore was already there. Only kitchen route.
Only deliveries.
Only deliveries, kitchen route. And we had a little bit of tailwind of Swiggy, Zomato coming in. Aggregators coming in. Our app, back then now got converted to Eat Sure over time. That was also doing well. So overall, we saw tailwind. Then I think around 2016 end or maybe 2017 beginning, we realized that we have a superpower, which is we don't have a facade in our stores, in our kitchens. Like typically you see a McDonald's, you go into a McDonald's. Like that was not the case for us. So we can actually launch more products in addition to wraps from the same place without sort of diluting the core product. Because we had this hunch, which got proven later on, that food is the only consumer goods where people's use cases are segments and not people.
What does that mean?
Like for anything else in life, like, you are a premium customer, like you wear a classy suit or you're a mass customer, or either you drive a Maruti or a Mercedes, fly business class or coach, most things. Even in shampoo, you have like the premium Dove or whatever and the Clinic Plus, etc. With food, you have the 20 rupee chai, but also go to a fine dine restaurant. Sometimes you have a samosa, which is like a quick lunch between meetings, but you also go to a sushi place, fancy sushi place. So we realized over time, again, a 2x2, again, this complex food dynamics can be simplified in a 2x2, which is single serve to group serve, size of serving, and then value to luxury. So your single serve value is a weekday lunch. Between meetings, don't want to splurge, you don't want to spend like $1,000. Quick, good food. Group serve luxury is a weekend dinner. Like go out with family or friends coming over or whatever. There you are okay to splurge, and all of that. Groups of value is office snacks, or you call for a project pizza dinner or whatever. Single serve luxury is sometimes you are craving for a nasi goreng or something like that. So basically, people move between these 4 boxes all the time. And we realized because we were kitchen, not a front end, we could actually be present in all 4 boxes fundamentally. Like for every restaurant brand in the world, they are a dot in this 2x2, but we can be the area. And this insight didn't come in 2016, but over time, like we realized that we have a massive opportunity just because we do not have a facade.
So you realize that you already have kitchens and you are selling the rolls. Why not sell more stuff to the same audience? There's no increase in cost rather than raw materials. That's the only cost.
Absolutely. Only the marginal cost of...
And your margins will increase tremendously.
My operating leverage will be tremendous and will be relevant. Like most restaurants are empty on Monday afternoon, and full on Saturday night, but they have to spend money for Saturday night. Like rent is for Saturday night.
Correct.
Right? Correct. But no leverage, operating leverage on Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
So if we can target different occasions in people's life, lunch, weekend dinner, evening snacks, which are these boxes, then over time they should, fundamentally they should be better. Most people can't do it because they have the facade, on the high street.
Sure, yeah.
So that led us to launch, pizza under Fasos, but that was that was the second learning we had around that time.
The brand associate food with like one
Absolutely.
people. Yeah.
You can't be, there is no famous multi-cuisine restaurant in the world. Right? So it's everything is
Domino's, pizza, McDonald's, burger, all of that.
Absolutely. So then the exponential growth you were talking about based on these two insights. So one is we can be relevant for the customer, whatever the use case is, and our brand should be, and then launching brands targeted at these use cases. And then suddenly it felt like, there is no limit. It's an infinite canvas. We can keep doing it 100 years.
Eureka moment.
Yeah, it was the real Eureka moment in our business. That, how, obviously it led to other problems, but at least at
We'll come to that.
At a fundamental level, we were
First principle wise, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
But even before you execute the great idea, did you feel like the roles is not scaling enough for you to expand, or you just thought that role is scaling, but parallelly, why not take advantage of these small gaps also and cover that also?
Role was scaling. But role, again, if you think about it in that 2x2, it is single serve value, or max we can push it to single serve luxury. Like signature apps that we have, they could be, single serve.
Correct.
But beyond that, this is not going to
I feel like having a rap. Go on.
It was less about problem, it was more about opportunity. That role is not
fair.
Our throughput per kitchen was 5 lakhs. We were okay at a kitchen level. But if I think,
what does that mean, throughput 5 lakhs?
Like sales, monthly sales, let's say 5 lakh rupees back then. But how can it be 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs? Role is not going to make it happen. So all this. So we were looking for more opportunities rather than trying to solve a growth problem. And then, that's how multi-brand,
And then you're like, pizza was the first. How did the insight come ki pehle pizza pe jayenge?
Pizza actually pehle gaye the, but Oven Story came up, but it took some time to scale. In the meantime, BEHROUZ came. Because we got this idea.
This was the first brand.
At scale, BEHROUZ is our second, after Fasos. That was the brand that got scaled fast.
So why did you get into biryani then? Like what was
the again, big demand? Category, big demand, very fragmented, again,
unorganized sector also.
Yeah. Market size and competitiveness. If you find big market, low competition, great place to build a brand. And biryani felt like a no-brainer at that time. And so BEHROUZ we launched, and I think BEHROUZ was the flag bearer of organized biryani play, at a national level. Obviously, they were like city-specific ones, but I think the team just hit it out of the park with BEHROUZ, and the storytelling, because I still remember.
This is 2017.
This is 2016 and 2017.
Parallel, like pizza and biryani.
Yeah, pizza was slower to ramp up because we were not getting the product market fit.
But you were launching it inside Fasos also now. Like pizza.
No, by this time we decided that we realized that problem.
Got it.
So BEHROUZ and Oven Story kind of started together, but BEHROUZ scaled much faster than Oven Story.
So technically, pizza was launched into Fasos, you realized it's not working, and then BEHROUZ biryani already picked up, and then you changed it to Oven, and then that happened.
Correct.
Got it. So technically, success-wise, BEHROUZ is second, and then Oven is third, pizza is third.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. And when did the tech play come in? Is that more 2017-18?
More 2018
we'll get there.
To now.
Got it. Now, in terms of branding and marketing, like 2015, 16, 17, this period, how are people listening, like hearing about the roles? Like apart from word of mouth, which I'm sure is a important part, but कैसे पता लग रहा था लोगों की ठीक है Fasos है, आप डाउनलोड करते हैं, ऑर्डर करते हैं, same with the BEHROUZ brand. Like what is, you mentioned a story of BEHROUZ, like what did happen? Like how did the branding happen? And same with the Oven Story, if you can just share a case study on this.
See, I think for BEHROUZ, again we were thinking about biryani, and then it started with the name. Okay, so we are thinking about what could be a good name, and then we chanced upon this word BEHROUZ, which is an Iranian word which means prosperous. So we realized that a biryani that is synonymous to prosperity and, abundance, seeped in a royal culture. That's where the royal biryani came, like BEHROUZ, the royal biryani. It came from that insight that, when do people have biryani? People, when they're in a group, some celebration is happening, that's when people have biryani. People don't have biryani to replace dal chawal on a Monday afternoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it should be
grand and
grand.
And should be, yeah.
So that's how it started. And then we actually wrote a novel, 56-page novel on a war that was fought for the biryani recipe. And we released a YouTube video by Raja Murad back then. Voiceover was Raja Murad, where we talked about this war that was fought for a recipe. ये जंग तो, I don't remember the exact words, ये जंग तो नहीं थी जेवर का, this का, but ये तो था जायके के. And that film did so well on YouTube because we were talking a different language. It stood out back then. And we did some hoardings, etc., and some other stuff, Instagram, of course. And because it was very unique, the way it was royal positioning of BEHROUZ, and then the product lived up to the expectation. I remember our head of culinary chef and I were in Bangalore, and we were having a dinner in one of the Bangalore restaurants. I forgot the name of it. I really loved the rice, the biryani rice. And we talked about, how can we, make that rice, in our kitchens. So it was not only the branding, but the product has to live up to it.
Of course, 100%.
Because without that, people will come, but then it will not happen the next time, right? So I think a combination of a very unique storytelling, and we've realized over time, whenever we piggybacked on this long lost, ancient royal heritage, etc., those are our best marketing campaigns for BEHROUZ. Like we did a series.
Yeah, biryani is synonymous with that.
Sorry?
Biryani has that brand also of history and
yes,
the Mughals and all
because
that.
nobody knows where it came from.
Yeah.
There's an intrigue about it and how it got made. I remember back in 2011, that biryani was on our mind for a very long time. I got a chef from Calcutta, and I asked him, and he was making the biryani. I asked him, Chacha, aaj biryani kaise banega? And he was like, मेरे को पता नहीं, वो तो अल्लाह के ऊपर है. So it is that handicraft. Biryani is the most intriguing handicraft dish in the whole world, I think. So so that's how BEHROUZ happened. I think it's a combination of product, a very unique story.
Got it. So BEHROUZ biryani, then pizza happened eventually. Then which brands, what happened, kept coming? So what was the insight then? Ki aur karte rahenge.
So we were looking at that 2x2. We were saying, okay, BEHROUZ. So Fasos was single serve value, single serve luxury. BEHROUZ was group serve luxury. Then har ek mein dalna hai.
Correct.
Then dessert brand came, Sweet Truth, our first dessert brand, which is like everybody.
Smoor also acquired recently.
Smoor recently. Smoor is a recent acquisition. Again, Smoor, Sweet Truth is single serve value, like cheesecakes, etc. But Smoor is group serve luxury. Smoor people order when they're celebrating a birthday or they gift during Diwali, etc. So whichever brand came, we always, like the brand manager or the brand has to say, where does this brand belong? And that 2x2. Because that brings the sharpness. Like that's why we will never launch a single serve cheap biryani under BEHROUZ. So this 2x2 is a big.
You started a different brand for that, right?
We are a different brand. So
market is so big that you started a different brand for like a lower pricing.
Yeah.
Go on.
Absolutely. So it's like every brand has to occupy a space and cannot move from there. That was, I would say,
very smart. Yeah, the brands are not even competing with each other. It's like I'm in a different mindset. Like I've had fast sauce roll, of course, and I'm in a different mindset. And when it's an afternoon, I'm like have to have home cooked food. I'm like lunchbox mangate hain, wo kar lete hain. And then coffee ke liye you have the Slay coffee, so the world as well.
Exactly.
Sub segment में आपने पकड़ा है. मेरा mindset overlap कभी नहीं होता है, ये करना है तो ये है, ये करना है तो ये है. That's
Exactly. That's how customers think. I think for ages, food brands were built differently. They were about a cuisine. It's still about a cuisine, but then also about a use case. And I think FMCG companies have done it forever.
True. Unilevers of the world, that's how
Unilevers, P&Gs of the world have
different brands use case.
Different brand, different use case. They have 3 shampoo brands, but you don't know.
So true. Yeah.
Right? So it's not like, but I think bringing that ethos and bringing it within a food service space is probably what we discovered, you know.
But yeah, 100x challenging also comes back to the same. Like Unilever doing it for a product, FMCG is very different from you doing it for live food which people eat. Which brings me to the same thing, that how has tech enabled you to do that? Because like as you mentioned, brand is all about consistency. And if I'm eating a biryani and BEHROUZ biryani in Bombay, it's good, and in Delhi it's not good, I'll be like, kya hi hai? People think they don't appreciate as much, but if it's bad, it's bad. Then they'll tweet it, post like 10 things. So how did tech, or like is there something else apart from tech which has enabled you to maintain like a high NPS or like score?
Yeah. See, as I was saying that our business, we were like really excited back in 2017. We discovered something, which can get us going forever, because people will always have food. Food will probably never be downloaded. Right?
Yeah.
So we can continue forever. But then, my favorite line from Sapiens is that human evolution is from one prison to another. So they solved something. When they solved agriculture, they got into another problem. When they started cities, they got into another problem. So similarly for us, it was solved a big problem, but we went to the prison of complexity.
Yeah.
It became super complex at the kitchen. So that is the time we realized that we need to build the supply chain, three things: supply chain, culinary, and tech. Totally differently. And nobody else had. Most restaurant tech is table booking or table assignment, POS, etc. There was no tech, which is different SKUs coming, going into different brands, managing of that inventory in the kitchen, taking skill away, but retaining the quality and freshness.
Correct.
All these were like humongous problems that we had to solve. And that, I believe, I don't know whether you read this book, 7 Powers by Hamilton Helmer, talks about business modes. There are only 7 types of business modes. One of the business modes is processing power. I believe, hopefully, brand will become our big business, individual brands. But we already have this business mode, which is people can copy our cloud kitchens. They can put 1,000 cloud kitchens, but they didn't go through this journey of finding the processing power, which we call the operating system of Rebel Foods, which is this combination of culinary, supply chain, and tech. At a very high level, it took us like donkeys here, like 4 or 5 years to get to where we are. But so today, and even then, every year there is a big project. And it basically falls in 3 buckets. How to simplify ops so that people don't have to think too much. They can make the great dish that the customer wants. How to manage inventory, because we can't say we won't launch new brands. We would be launching new brands. There are so many other categories where we don't have a brands in. So it will be complexity. There will be new SKUs coming. How to manage those SKUs throughout the supply chain. And third, how to keep the culinary bar high without using skill at the kitchen.
Because that's not scalable.
That's not scalable. You can't depend on a chef's mood, because then the food will be different every day and every outlet. So we are always solving for these 3 pieces. Sometimes it's tech, like for example, inventory. Now, typically in restaurants, the manager would say, tomorrow I need these raw materials. But it's impossible to do at Rebel. So today there is an automated AI-driven inventory replenishment system that we have built. So inventory, exactly what inventory based on past demand forecast, rain happening or Shravan happening, Navratri happening, Eid happening, everything taken.
So just to simplify, for example, Hyderabad, there's a dark store or a kitchen. You have an AI-enabled system. which is able to tell कि हैदराबाद में यहाँ पे ज़्यादा डिमांड हो सकती है in the festive
इस
season,
ब्रांड का, इस प्रोडक्ट का,
इस लोकेशन में
में
ज़्यादा इन्वेंट्री भेजो.
और वो भी like वहाँ पे maybe the same in total inventory, same in let's say Bombay, Bandra and Hyderabad, Gachibowli, but the product mix is totally different in Hyderabad versus Bombay. So it takes care of that. So every kitchen, the inventory gets managed like this. With tech, humanly it was not possible.
So inventory part is solved by tech.
That's inventory. Okay. Skill, like culinary bar.
कितना डालना है, क्या करना है, कैसे बनेगा,
कैसे बना है, कैसे डो, वो we have a culinary innovation center here where the chef and his team is always experimenting. That's why, you know, it's very difficult for us to remain fit. You know, every day we are tasting something. But then when it goes to the kitchen, and it goes in phases, it doesn't go to like all kitchens, it goes to 1 or 2 kitchens.
Test it, yeah.
And it is divided into क्या bill of material है, कि exactly क्या ingredient जाएगा, dispensing sequence क्या है, and amount क्या है, कि कितना कब कितने quantity में डालना है, और heat and movement का combination क्या है, like नीचे से heat करना है, conveyor oven में डालना है, या stir करना है, whatever. Everything is codified and everything is process driven. Like for example, if the biryani, as you know, like there are 36 spices that go into BEHROUZ, every biryani of BEHROUZ, but then if we ask someone to remember those 36, it's impossible. So they are made in pre-made sachets, mixed up, and you have to, like when you're making 5 kilo of biryani, you have to put a certain number of sachets, which is the dispensing. And then the movement and heat, we created a special cooker, which remembers how much time the layering will have to have, how much time the dum will have to happen. Nobody has to remember. So it takes away skill, but retains the high bar of quality. And this has been applied to many things. Like for example, our fryers. Like the many things that get fried at Rebel, right? Like a samosa or a French fry or a potato cheese shot, etc. Everything has a different temperature, different dipping time, etc. It's impossible for people to remember. So our fryers are automated. So you say I'm doing a potato cheese shot, the fryer will go automatically down, will automatically come up based on, and these recipes now fed through the internet to these machines, to the fryer. So chef and his team will set the exact recipe, feed it into the system. Pan India system. People at the kitchen will have to follow this instruction, okay, press this button, and so on. Again, there is this concept in food making is that if you make it in one place, it will be consistent. But I think the biggest dichotomy in food, like you were saying, the shampoo can be made in one place, food cannot be made in one place. It has to be made in order. And then inconsistency comes.
Correct.
The only way to solve it, keep the integrity of the food, but work on the process so that the skill is taken care of. That's where technology, not only hardware, not only software, but also hardware over time. And we are on a path. Not everything is automated today at Rebel. I would say maybe 50% is automated. The other 50% will automate over time. But everything is standardized. There is no, like, whatever be the dish, 100% is process driven, etc., without compromising on the taste and the ingredient quality. And it's tough. That's why we do it in a couple of stores. If it works, a city, then only we can scale. At a cost of, the great advantage that we have is cost of failure is zero for us. Like if you have to start a new restaurant, a new brand, you first put up a 1 crore outlet. Then you will know whether people will like your food or not. So
it's like day or 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
For us, we just put it in a kit, like outside our raw materials, there is no extra cost. And we see what customers are saying. And then almost like software launch.
You can even know the demand. This demand is that I'm assuming Slay Coffee was an acquisition because they're like, oh, we need coffee and like, let's figure out a company which is doing decently well, we just quickly acquire. And I think you scaled it from 1 lakh to 80 lakhs per month, something like that, which is insane. Yeah. But I'm assuming same insight.
Sometimes it's brands that are already working, sometimes brands that we've licensed Wendy's.
Yeah, of course.
Because we didn't want to build a burger, because again, is that 2x2 large markets are heavily competitive. It's an oligopoly. And oligopolies are the hardest to break. So why build another brand and fight that battle? So but the underlying thesis is this: find a great product, fit into that 2x2, launch slowly, test, get to PMF defined by what customers are saying and whether we are making money. Which sometimes, customers are very happy, but we are not making money. So scaling that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Customer love is guardrail number 1. But guardrail number 2 is we are making some money so that the operating leverage kicks in. And then it is ready for scale.
So would Rebel never get into a niche product? Like a niche, very niche, I don't know, like a Middle Eastern, even more niche for that matter. Will you get into that, or only scalable?
See, it's not that we have all the answers on this, but one thing we realized with Fasos, that in niche you can create a category. Before Fasos, wraps was not a category.
Yeah.
So sometimes people get people think, Chinese is a big category and we can do it. But sometimes if you think about the big success stories in India, Domino's, they created the category. Pizza was Indians were taught what pizza is.
Pizza Hut and Domino's, these two brands. Yeah.
Domino's did it. Burger, McDonald's did it. Mexican California Burrito Kitchen did it. So sometimes these were niche. Back in 1990, pizza was niche. There was no. When you create the category, it's tremendous.
Okay.
So we have few things under the works, like pasta. We believe it's going to be a big category. It's not a large category today. It's maybe niche, but we can see telltale signs of we can create a big category around it. So that's how we think about it. Today's niche, when we are convinced that we can create a pan-India category, then we would go into it. Even if it's 5 years hence. Health is another. So
Healthy
we are
foods.
working on all those. Yeah.
Got it. So I want to get deeper into the tech aspect. I'm a non-techie. I don't understand tech at all. And if I were you...
So am I. I'm a non-techie.
Yeah, that's right. And if I were you as a non-techie as well, hypothetically it sounds great. Okay, this tech will come in and it will solve problems. But as an entrepreneur, and obviously as an entrepreneur, you don't need to learn tech and do it. How do you solve for it? You hired a CTO. What was the process like?
See, I think one of the 8 guys I recruited back then in 2012, one of them took up tech. Now, what was this person's background? He was an engineer, and I think a couple of years is one of Infosys or CTS. So, 2 years out of college, engineering college. But he was living the problem. He was in the kitchen, seeing what the problems are. So he was thinking of how to solve problems rather than I have this big ass knowledge, 20 years of experience, and everything, there's a saying that someone with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But this person was actually looking at the problem and trying to solve how to do it. And then this guy only recruited the entire, a large part of the tech team back in 2016, 2017, when we were building this stack up.
So it took you proper year or two to just build this?
More than a year to, and I would say, our investors say when they came to our kitchen in 2018 versus now, it's a totally different kitchen. Because the good thing about technology is that you don't have to dismantle. For example, earlier we had manual fryers. Now we took out the manual fryers, we put the automated fryers.
And this automated fryers, I'm assuming, are made by you guys?
Kind of designed, thought through by us, but made by someone else.
Even that is insane to think of. And then distribute across.
And that company services all these, etc. So it was
insane.
And now that same fryer is being used by a lot of other restaurants.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So because
that can be a product in itself.
Yeah. So I think it's important that you need a CTO to start with, but I don't believe that CTO has to be someone with 20 years of experience. In fact, in today's world, the younger the better.
Why is that?
Because technology is changing. Every day it is changing. I'm sure if we had to build it today, like we had a call center. Today, if we have to build a call center, we won't have a call center. We'll have an AI-driven, an agent-driven call center. So technology is changing so fast that the younger the better. Younger person who thinks tech first to solve a problem. That thinking is important.
Right.
The way you look at a problem, there are many ways to solve that problem. Throw money at it, throw people at it, or use tech.
Yeah.
This person inherently should think, how can I use tech?
Mine is money and people, no tech. Got it. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are 2018, 2019. Like, what was the next problem? You solved tech is a developing problem. 2018 to 2021, let's say 3 to 4 years, you were developing this. What other problems are coming while you were scaling, I don't know, 10, 15 brands parallelly?
I think one was culture. Because
the CDO concept came in?
It came in around 2016-17.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that, but yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Culture.
Because we realized that if we are a software company in one building, then it's easy to maintain the culture. But now, moment of truth, as you were saying, and this is very different from FMCG, where you don't need your Kirana store to have a particular culture to sell your shampoo. You are doing that job at a top level, you're sending the shampoo.
So true. Yeah.
But here, the food is made on order. The customer experience is happening real time across 100 cities now. So culture is so important. I can't overstate it in our business, in our kind of businesses, where the person at the last mile can screw it up.
Yeah.
Fully. So building that culture, that ownership we had in the corporate, like the guys that I hired, etc., had to be distributed across the network. And every time we saw where this broke because of leadership in that particular city or that area, the business will suffer like tremendously. So this is one thing. So we have this, one of the big projects that every year happens is what we call internally transforming lives. So how do we, like we have 7,000 people today, how do we put this cultural element into people who are 5th pass, 8th pass, 10th pass, teach them how to manage inventory, manage people, manage customers, and so on and so forth. So I believe that this has been a big, big enabler for us. This concept of transforming lives. Our parents worked hard so that we could have a better life in India, and this problem is there generation after generation. If we can transform one person's life through teaching, through development, through monetary support. So all our employees, for example, have life insurance, parental insurance, medical insurance. So we didn't go down the gig working route.
Yeah.
We didn't
We
could have. But we realized that how would I induce culture?
Long term.
And at the moment of truth, etc. So I think this has been a big theme at Rebel, and it's a continuous journey. Where we go IPO, I think people have a lot of sections around CSR activity, etc. I think our big, contribution is transforming lives. We've taken like 83% of our CDOs, kitchen managers, are joined as team members. In 4, 5, 6 years.
Delight, right? Like Chief Delight.
Chief Delight officers, we made a huge impact. Now that person can send his or her son or daughter to the best school. I believe that is the big contribution. And, though I come from Bengal, I'm not socialist in nature. I'm a capitalist. But I think this is the great outcome of capitalism. That you can actually, and it's
Change
again a
lives.
cycle. You transform lives, they become loyal, to your cause, and as a result, you do well, and you can transform more lives, and that's why capitalism works so beautifully.
If you can quickly explain this model also, like for people's understanding, how does this happen? Like, how do they enter the workforce, and then what happens to them for the CDO?
See, everybody joins, and nobody has to have any culinary background, no chef, no nothing. So you join as a team member, which we call product associate. Then over time, you become a senior product associate. And then you become a coach. So it takes about maybe 2 to 3 years. During this time, you work on different brands, different processes, master all the stations in the kitchen, etc. So you are ready to coach someone who is coming as a product associate.
Right.
So there is a training hierarchy inbuilt into the system to coach. And these coaches have dual responsibility. One is within the kitchen, and second, they also report to the training head. Now, once you're a coach, about a year you've managed, and based on your performance, you would be then a management trainee, a CDO and a CDO. So that's the management hierarchy. During this time, we'll teach you how to run a P&L, how to manage people, how to manage time, how to...
It's like a mini MBA.
Mini MBA, exactly.
It's MBA only actually, 2-3 years though.
Yeah. And by that time, not everybody can become a CDO, but over time, you become a CDO. We have a parallel track. We recruit from IHMs directly as an MT, management trainee, who don't have to go through this earlier route.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say out of us CDOs, about 10% would be this cadre.
IHM.
This IHM cadre.
So 90% is like fresh to...
83% is fresh, and maybe 5-7% people who entered at different points in the journey. But largely it is product associate to CDO.
And a CDO's responsibility is to run a particular store.
He is the real CEO of that kitchen. That's why it's called CDO, Chief, with a focus on delighting the customer. That's why it's called Chief Delight Officer. We've now started a program called CDO to CEO. So I believe in 20 years, one of today's CDO should be the CEO of Rebel Foods. So now we are identifying like a cohort of CDOs who are showing that spark. And some of them already become area delight managers. Our regional head of East was a CDO. So we are seeing CDOs breaking ceilings and becoming like senior management in our company. And I think one day, one CDO will be a CEO.
So they're actually the technician as well as the
managerial. Yeah.
So they have both the skills.
They know inside out. Everybody who works at Rebel will have to do a kitchen stint, because that's where rubber meets the road.
Oh, so if any, like even the management, like
everybody has to do a kitchen stint, because that's where, if you don't understand our kitchen, you don't understand Rebel. And if that's again a good self-selection. If someone says, okay, as heat, this, that, etc.
But doesn't that make hiring very difficult for you?
But it's self-selection. Like, think about this. Our biggest days are week holidays, Saturday, Sundays. 31st night is our biggest day of the year. The entire world is celebrating. And we have a policy at Rebel, everybody at Rebel, doesn't matter, me or whoever, has to be in the kitchen on 31st night. So your party can start at 1 p.m., 1 a.m., post 1 a.m. But if people are staying here, then that means it's okay. That's why I said founder mentality has to have that. The first point is mission driven. Because you understand it's a different industry. You can't close your kitchen on 31st night. And if you expect your kitchen team members to come on 31st, they also have life, they also have family, to come and work, you have to also be at the kitchen. Doesn't matter if you're corporate. It sounds tough.
It is tough.
It is tough. But then that's how self-selection happens. People are cool with it. In fact, now we have a tradition, all of us are in kitchens and we celebrate, like without alcohol of course, we celebrate in our kitchens when they're at the stroke of midnight. We bring energy to the kitchens.
Why do you pick this business? It's so complex. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. But as I said, difficulty prevents competition. Like you're thinking it's very difficult.
I will never enter this business.
You will never enter this business.
5 births also.
A bright guy like you, I'm sure you would be a terrific entrepreneur. You are a terrific entrepreneur. But you don't want to come into our business because it's tough. And that's a good thing. That means, the best talent in India are probably not thinking of entering our business, which you represent. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, fair. Now 2021, we are at 2021. Where would we at right now? After the tech
before COVID, let's say. Just before COVID.
So let's discuss COVID. What happened in COVID and then after the 4 years, 5 years that
so
we are at?
COVID, the first 6 months of COVID was a complete disaster because we had to shutter. Like at that time, we had about 250 kitchens, I think, or maybe close to 300, but in India. And we had to shut, I think, 150 of them.
Shut as in shut?
But we hibernated. So we reached out. So we didn't lay off anyone. I still remember, sending an email saying that we have 2 choices. One is we lay off people. And the second is...
Email to the
whole entire company. And the second choice is all of us take salary cuts so that we can keep the company going without layoff. So for 6 months, I didn't draw salary. None of the co-founders drew salary, etc. I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I think that is the time I realized, how strong rebel culture was. People just stuck around. They took salary cuts. Think about kitchen staff. All gig workers were like 0. But
correct.
We paid salary to everyone. We moved people. Like in a city, maybe out of 10 kitchens, we'll have 2 kitchens running, and we moved people there, from 10 kitchens. So it was overcrowded or whatever, but we didn't ask anyone to go. So it was a tough time. But the second half of COVID, Providence, I think it was very good for us.
Must be insane, yeah.
Because we saw the exact
extreme. Especially delivery only.
Delivery only. So,
all kind of products, all kind of food.
All kind of products, all kind of food. In fact, which is when we had probably another light bulb moment in our business, which is when the offline players came to us and said, can we put our products in your kitchens?
Correct.
Which is how Naturals Ice Cream happened, Madover Donuts happened, Anand Sweets happened.
The Rebel launcher thing, yeah.
Rebel, and then we converted that into a program called Rebel Launcher. So I would say the first half of COVID was, the toughest moment. But I knew this was not like 2014-16.
Like not as tough.
Yeah.
Not as tough?
Not as tough.
So 14 would be the toughest?
Would be the toughest. Because this time we knew that it's temporary. Because you can't, food is not going to go away.
Yeah.
Whatever. Maybe different shape or form. And we were very, very well positioned.
You're ready to adapt. You don't know where to adapt right now, but
absolutely.
We'll adapt.
We'll adapt. We had that confidence because
insane.
of the business model, etc. Though the numbers were even worse than 2014-15 probably.
Really?
Like 80% drop in revenue.
Shit.
So it's like from 100 to 20. March 2020. So, but yeah.
And then the next 6 months, I'm assuming 20 to 200 straight up.
Yeah. So
made up for it.
Yeah, made up for it. Good thing is even post-COVID. So I hear a lot of things about, post-COVID dips in restaurant businesses, in delivery, etc. But for us, it kind of, the mix changed a little bit because during COVID, we were like 2021, 22, we were getting our biggest brands were celebration brands where people were at home. They were cooking the dal chawal, but during weekend they were like splurging, etc. So Sweet Truth grew super fast, BEHROUZ grew super fast. Lunchbox stagnated because people are not having that single sub value. They were cooking at home.
Sure, yeah.
But post-COVID, the mix changed again. People started coming back to offices. So the growth of celebration muted a little bit, but this grew super fast. So as a whole, our business was
diversified very well. Yeah.
And that helped us during COVID, post-COVID. And now we feel like whatever be the situation, like let's say, for example, tomorrow there is a big recession. People will go down. I don't want that to happen, but
of course,
we would be okay. If we are, like the GST cut has been a big boost in terms of money, more money in people's hand, etc. Tax cuts, income tax cuts were happened. We see a lot of like BEHROUZ is growing, and a lot of biryani celebrations happening. So I believe we are at a good place, I would say, so that we can adapt and we can see where the world is going. New trends coming, we would be positioned to address this. The other big thing that has happened with us, India is a very being a Bengali, I never knew there were 2 Navratris, like vegetarianism in India. So we used to struggle a lot during Navratri, back in 2016-17, even after BEHROUZ, because BEHROUZ is primarily non-vegetarian. But then I realized that there are such events everywhere. Like Onam is going on now in Kerala, and Ganpati just concluded. There was Eid in between. Christmas, every city,
Diwali is coming.
Diwali is coming. We are the only company who can piggyback on all of this. Like we had right now in Lunchbox, there is a Onam thali that is going on. And the sales are through the roof. Like, we are going stock out every year. During Ganpati, we did Modak. During Holi, we did Gujia and Thandai. During Navratri, we'll have a Navratri special. We can now capture demand, irrespective of seasons.
Very cool.
And it's again a great outlet for our creativity, which is, as a DNA level, we are very, creative, experimental. So yeah.
I want you to explain thoda sa the Indian audience. Like India is very complex, obviously. Like, there's a Blue Venture study also, India 1, 2, 3, Mexico, Singapore, all of that. And as you mentioned, you have delivered across the country, across segments 2 by 2, different products. What do you like? What's your like one pager or like 1-2 minute line on like the Indian audience?
Yeah, good question. This is something that we keep thinking about. So there are 2 types of food. I'm talking from a food perspective. Food in India. One is global cuisines. The other is Indian cuisines. The global cuisines, there is no difference. So the burger that sells in Delhi also sells in Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Maybe some slight preference for fried in South versus etc. But not major difference.
Okay. Standardized, yeah.
Standardized. Pizza, burger, etc. Standardized. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, doesn't matter. Cuisines that are Indian type, there's massive difference. Like biryani is different in every state. We actually have 3 biryani brands today. One only for South. Because in South, biryani is so different. It's staple, first of all. In North, it's celebration. In South, it's a kind of daily thing, So it's staple, cheaper, rice is more, flavor profile is different, as a case study. And this is true for most Indian food. That South Indian meal is very different from North Indian meal, but both are singles of value. So that's one big difference. That if you are dealing with Indian food, if you don't customize, if you don't address specific geography specifically, you can't have a national play. This is why most brands in India are regional. Like you don't have a pan-India South Indian chain or even a biryani chain,
True.
etc. So
the dominant regions,
yeah. So that's one. The second is, I have realized one thing, that people talk about Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, etc. And maybe that is very relevant for cars or iPhones and all of that. But for a 200, 300, 400 rupee use case, entire India, if I think about 3 A's, awareness, availability, affordability. Entire India is at the same level of awareness. So you go to any part of the country, it doesn't matter what kind of city it is, that person knows the New York influencer. Doesn't matter. At least in our Instagram profile, etc., what we have realized. The problem is affordability and availability. As a result, if you're talking about 200, 300 rupee, 400 rupee products, they're already affordable. You don't have to break the bank. In fact, I think there's more affordability in Amritsar than in Bandra, because Bandra people are paying through their nose the rent. In Amritsar, the rent is 1/10. The only thing you have to solve for is availability. We have seen our brands, like some of our largest, like highest volume kitchens are in Ranchi, in Patna, and in Coimbatore, Amritsar, places like that. Because especially in places where there are no brands, when we go, we bring 10 new brands, and brands,
True.
As I said, awareness is 100%.
True.
People know कि BEHROUZ करके एक brand है, Bombay में. We don't have to say even that BEHROUZ is a brand. People know BEHROUZ is a brand. It's available. Order. So we've seen, like, depending on what kind of product you are selling, you have to solve awareness. You don't have to solve for in India. Availability, affordability, and in food, affordability is already there. We are not selling like 20,000 rupee meals, and that's why we believe the headroom is like unbelievable. Now we entered our 100th city. I believe in next 10 years we'll go to 500 cities in India. Domino's is already in 240 cities or something. So I know there is a lot of Segbi kind of segmentation. People say only consuming class is only top 2%. I'm not saying in our business. We have to solve for availability. We're good.
Any other observations, non-food wise, in terms of how the per capita income is increasing or money is increasing, or what do you think consumption patterns of a tier 2, tier 3 compared to a tier 1? Like, I feel, especially living in Bombay, the focus is too much India and not Bharat. And I think your market, I assume, is bigger Bharat than India. Like, India is hey, but like Bharat would be bigger.
See, I think there is this slightly nuanced is in Bombay we'll always have more kitchens. So it will be a denser market for us. So Bombay today we have about 60 kitchens. But Patna we have 4. So as a market, Bombay will always be larger than Patna. But at a per kitchen level, some of the partner stores are bigger than Bombay. It's also a function of supply and demand. In Bandra, you have, world's, all big brands.
Yeah.
When Starbucks would come to India, they came to, Bombay first. But Starbucks is not there in some of the tier 2 cities yet.
Right.
So there is a supply-demand gap. So when we bring supply, and we are masters of bringing supply. Same product bringing you to, like, from Shillong to Gujarat, from Jammu to Trivandrum, we can bring the supply, same quality product, etc. And that works beautifully. And over time, there is a steady tailwind of more disposable income. And if you also think about the avenues of entertainment, it's also like one way to think about it is what is the total disposable income, which may be slightly smaller in tier 2.
Sure.
But then the avenues to spend that disposable income is much lower in tier 2, than in Bombay. Bombay, you can splurge your money
10,000 places.
Different
100% agree.
Different ways. But in Amritsar, you don't have that. So most of the disposable income, I don't have statistics on this, but my guess would be the percentage spent on food would be higher in tier 2, tier 3 of disposable income. And especially when you bring a new brand that they are not exposed to, demand can go through the roof.
Makes sense. Absolute money obviously will be higher here, but
as a market it will be higher. But
sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What's happening now last 2 years, 23, 24, 25 currently? What are you working on? Challenges?
See, I think all of this put together, I believe we have the flywheel of Rebel Foods. Every business people talk about, PMF, product market fit. But I have realized that product market fit changes. As you scale,
evolve and adapt. Yeah.
Evolve. I think the only time you can say we've got a business in hand is when you have discovered the flywheel. A flywheel is a self-perpetuating machine. So you push it, basically you push at one end, it rotates, and you push some more, it rotates, and then after some you don't have to push. It rotates on its own. That's a flywheel.
Okay.
I think there's a great book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, where he explained this concept of flywheel. All great businesses have, like, there's this famous story of Bezos, how he drew on a napkin paper, the flywheel of Amazon. So in our case, the flywheel has three elements. So one is our operating system. So better our tech is, better our culinary innovation is, better our supply chain is, we have the ability to get more brands. And as more brands come, we are relevant for more customers.
Correct.
And their use cases. And that gives us better insight as to how to improve the flywheel, improve the operating system. And as we improve the operating system, we can get more brands. So this is the flywheel that we have today. So all our effort is concentrated on these three buckets. How can we better the system so that we can launch more brands and better our current brands so that we can get more users who would try us, come back to us and give us more data for us to improve the operating system. And this, so I believe after all these years, I didn't have this flywheel, we didn't have this flywheel as a company 10 years back. But today we have. But it also means two things. One is we have to keep rotating this, and every passing year, this is what you are talking about, the step jump in growth. When a flywheel really starts moving, you will see effort kam lagega, growth zyada aayega. Leverage zyada aayega, right? That's happening in our business today. Because today we have, let's say, 450 kitchens in India and some outside. We have 10 brands. Now tomorrow we can launch a brand, get to a good place and then scale it. We can do this whole thing within a year. Like go to 500 locations. Like this South Indian brand I was talking about, we launched it in May.
This year?
May. June, July, 4 months. It's already close to 100 crore brand, annualized revenue. ARR. That's the power, because we can just boom, because we have the operating system in place, the kitchens are in place. Launch a brand, perfect in small scale, then go. Incredible. And that is that's the power of flywheel. The problem with the model, so what's the catch? A QSR is better or our model is better. The catch in our business is we have to invest in tech, which a QSR doesn't have to. So we become probably profitable at a higher scale. While a QSR can be profitable much faster.
Sure.
But once we achieve the operating leverage, we can be humongous. It's like, if you look at all the category creators on internet, like Amazon, Uber, all category creators, right? All of them, Tesla, all of them were unprofitable at a small scale. First 20 years or 15 years unprofitable.
Yeah.
But once they achieve profitability, there is no stopping. Because tech cost will remain fixed.
Correct.
It will not grow variably. Like our same kitchen sales growth is 15-20%. Even at older cohort. If you look at any QSR, they are at 1% or minus 5%. Because of the inherent, it's not our brilliance, it's the model. Because the same kitchen sales growth will come from not only existing brands, but also when we add a new brand. So I think we are at a place where the flywheel is in place. We know how to push this. And now it feels like we continue to keep moving the flywheel, continue to improve the operating system, continue to add brand. Now, some of them could be our brands, some of them we can buy. As I was saying, we are actively looking for great regional brands with great customer love. We know if we put it in the pipe, we can go pan-India.
And the Slay Coffee, 1 to 80 lakhs is insane.
Also, Wendy's. When we got Wendy's, we had zero sales. Now, Wendy's just opened its 200 cloud kitchen in our network. And the revenue is, ARR is 250 crore. And this has happened within 2.5 years. So, because of this, Slay is a good example, Wendy's is even better example. That how, this, and Smooth, when we bought, it was a 70 crore brand, now it is a 200 crore brand.
How long ago was Smooth?
About 2.5 years back. So we have the ability to now, get brands scale fast.
Yeah, it's like you put them in the machine and they zoop up.
Yeah.
But
we have to be careful about what we are putting into the machine.
Can't be overlapping.
Can't be overlapping, can't be like the system has to withstand. Like probably a sushi brand we cannot put into this machine because we don't have the operating system to do sushi.
Correct.
But a health brand, 100%. A Mexican brand, 100%. A Chinese brand, 100%.
So the goal right now is to add more brands, but you will not focus on the launcher thing anymore?
That's a parallel thread. That's a business unit that we have. It is now, we are not creating infrastructure for launcher, but wherever we have infrastructure, like for example, ITC MasterChef.
But isn't that giving competition the leverage of your own systems?
See, if we don't provide that, so this is one other thing that I have learned over time, is that we are always worried about the visible cost. We never think about the opportunity cost. If we don't let ITC MasterChef come into our kitchen, it's not that it will not come into that location. It will open another kitchen somewhere else. But we will lose the ability to understand that business, what customers are coming, and all of that. So that's our opportunity cost. It will open in any case in Bandra.
Yeah.
And it will still eat into our
makes sense.
Business. But here, let it eat into our business, if at all. But we benefit from it. It's profitable for us. What they pay us, it makes sense for us from money-wise. We can put that money back into building our brand. So sometimes we get very short-sighted with competition.
Right. Where does this long mindset come from? Like, so much stamina you have in terms of running a business. I mean, technically since 2003-04, if I take the 1.0 fastest also. So where is this coming? Like this mindset of, I think you've talked about this also. There's no exit plan for you. It's like, I forgot the word that you use. But it's like sustained stamina, like long game. I think long game is what you use.
Yeah.
Ye kahan se aata hai? I think Gen Z, being a Gen Z, for us it's like 5 years next, 2 years next, 3 years next. Right? Like even the jobs market, you can see it like 1 year they change, 2 years they change, 3 years they change, hike. That's how they function. Like, where does this come from? Like, is it just driven by pure purpose or is something else?
See, I think couple of things here, I would say. First of all, I actually think with Gen Z, I have young daughters, so, I know how, little bit of how they think.
Yeah.
Though it's
Gen
more
Z,
difficult
Gen
with
Alpha.
daughters.
Yeah.
But, I have realized one thing, that compounding is the eighth wonder of this world. Okay? And it applies to three things. Money, many things, but from a let's say life perspective, it applies to reputation. So it's like money compound कैसे होता है कि you invest and you don't take it out.
Correct.
Every year if you take it out, then उसमें leakage होता है. Tax leakage, this leakage, and again you put it. What Buffett Munger said, time is your biggest friend. You let it compound. Same with reputation. Every time you change job, you start from zero. More churn in your life, you are not compounding. You think that I've got a better salary. but your reputation. So your money maybe is slightly bigger, but your reputation that you built in your last company, that by doing a great job, everybody knows you, everybody supports you, and you are obviously you have to find the right company. But once you found that right company, let your reputation compound without churning. Because every time you churn, there is leakage because you're starting from zero. It's like bank account. पैसा निकल गया पूरा. अभी zero से चालू करना पड़ेगा. As a result, compounding doesn't happen. If you look at, forget founders, if you look at best, let's say employees, they're all 20 years old. Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, there are hundreds of Team Cook, hundreds of examples where these guys are not founders, but they're almost founders because their life's work, because they let their reputation compound. Satya Nadella was a product manager, did well, did something. So reputation compounded. If बीच में वो छोड़ के Oracle या कहीं और join करता, वो reputation compound नहीं होता.
Correct.
So it's not only money, it's also reputation. The other thing is learning. Learning also compounds. I think the biggest difference between a successful person and not so successful person is a successful person always has a beginner's mindset. Always thinking, how can I learn something new? And that's the biggest leadership trait also. Because great leaders are good listeners. Because they have this ability to soak up, to listen, to learn. So I think most people think short term, including my daughters. And based on what I've seen in life, and it's not only, what I have done, or, I don't want to say I'm like supremely successful, but I've seen young folks join at Rebel, when they're 25, and I see the difference. I see, people who are compounding their reputation, and one of them will be the CEO of Rebel. Already some of them are doing incredible work. And I also see equally good talent, but churning, going from one place to another and all of that. So when I actually look at, this is one thing I look at, whether the person is compounding reputation or churning. Because if the person is churning, that means the person is short-sighted. There is no perfect job in this world, right? You'll have a bad day. And no job is the highest paying in the world. There will always be another job which will be paying you higher. Right? It's a different matter that maybe 90% will be paying lower, but you are always thinking about the job which is paying higher. But if you churn, I feel that everybody starts from the same place. And 20 years down the line, some people are here, some people are here. I think the difference is who lets their reputation compound and who does not. And compounding, as we know, when it compounds, in 20 years, the difference is massive. 1% versus 10%.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The same happens with reputation. So, anyway, you asked a different question. So, I think over time, I've realized that if I leave Rebel, if I do something else, I have to start from zero. So, I won't be compounding. And this is my life's work. There's this concept called life's work. And a lot of people across the world are now thinking of what their life's work. Like for Leonardo da Vinci, it was the Mona Lisa. And not everybody will be able to do a Mona Lisa, but what's my Mona Lisa? If I do 20 things, then nothing is my Mona Lisa. Maybe he also did, maybe bad example, but you get my point.
I get it, yeah.
So, I think first, like when you are 20 to 30, you should experiment. You should see what's looking good, what's not, what excites you. You should do all of that. But I started Rebel the second time when I was mid-30s. And I knew that this has to be my life's work. And over time, the conviction was more. Now I'm very sure that this is my life's work. And for a lot of people in their 30s, they should be in a place, they should define what's their life's work and give 20 years to it. Then only something humongous will happen. It's like, my favorite analogy is if you want to climb Everest, you can't do it fast. It's physiologically not possible. because you won't acclimatize. You'll die. So you go slowly. There's a saying in mountaineering, climb high, sleep low. So you go to a point, come down a little bit, sleep, acclimatize, go slowly. Going fast is a recipe for disaster. You'll die. If you're climbing Aravalli, you can do fast. Small mountains can be climbed fast. Big mountains cannot be climbed fast. So if you think about your life's work, big thing that you want to do in this lifetime, you have to be at it. You have to compound, stay at it, bad days, go through it. What helps is when you have good people around you, the team, I'm super proud of the team, and that's source of strength in bad days, So find the sources of strength, like in mountaineering, you find a good Sherpa, find a good CFO, will regulate the cash for you, like the Sherpa regulates the oxygen, and find these support systems, etc., and just build the life's work. It will not happen. Nobody has ever built his or her life's work in 5 years. Right? It always takes time. And, it's okay. Maybe I will not be the richest person on earth, but that's fine. It's a life's work. So Daniel Kahneman is thinking fast and slow. He said there is a difference between happiness and satisfaction. Happiness is at the moment. Like you are happy. Like you are happy in a gathering or meeting your friends. It's fleeting. Like happiness. Or when you are having, a couple of drinks, etc. But satisfaction is always looking back. So what you did in school, what you did in your job, etc. So happiness, satisfaction, not the same thing. But if you're all your life you're looking for happiness, chances are you'll be less satisfied because you don't have time to build satisfaction in your life. Happiness is like a drug. You get addicted. And satisfaction is, in the moment, it feels like a struggle. You don't feel happy. But when you look back, it gives you joy. And that's why I feel that, people should think more, because the future is always in front of you. You have not seen the future. But if you have your mental models sort of sorted around these things, like satisfaction is more important than happiness. It will be a long journey. Reputation compounds. Then you'll be better equipped to stick to a plan and go through it, come what may. Yeah.
Is there any regret that you have in the last 15-20 years that you would change? Not regret, but like you should run this way.
Many things.
Whatever comes to your mind right now.
Right now I think couple of times we raised too much money. And I squandered that money. We as a team, and I take responsibility for that. We said, we let our strategy be dictated by cash rather than the other way around. Cash should always follow strategy, not the other. So we expanded too fast, did things, spent too much money on marketing.
13-14 period also.
13-14 also, I think little bit 16-17. Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I think if I do it again, I would be able to do it with less capital.
Got it.
But again, hindsight is always a great teacher. Yeah.
I know. And talking about Gen Zs, like you quote a lot of books. I'm sure you're an avid reader. What do you think is the best learning source? Like people, like I like to learn a lot from different things. ChatGPT, deep research, like podcasts, this and that. Like what are your top sources of like reading, researching apart from books?
See, I believe in rabbit hole principle. Ghus jao. Pick up a subject. In fact, I mentor some people at Rebel. So we have a program called LEAD-R, Leaders at Rebel. LEAD-R. So these are our best performers who we are grooming for senior management. And they are assigned mentors. Some of them are assigned to me. So I tell them every year you pick a subject. Say investing. Say whatever. Like badminton. I don't know. Like pick a subject. Go deep. into the rabbit hole of that. Listen to every podcast that, like fitness, for example. Read Peter Attia, listen to Huberman or whatever, just go through the rabbit hole of
and
it.
give 1 year.
Like 1 year is
give enough time.
Big enough time. It can be around 3 months, and things are becoming faster because of ChatGPT and all of that. And if you continue to do this for enough number of years, you would be terrific. You would have, sometimes you'll have multi-year rabbit holes. Like for me, investing, it came from how do I understand capital allocation? Because it's a form of investing, even running a business. I went into the rabbit hole of Buffett Munger, I think 3-4 years back. And I think I'm still 50% done. I've read next year I'm going to the annual Berkshire Hathaway meeting.
Nice.
I managed to get a pass. So I think this rabbit hole, doesn't a podcast ho sakta hai, books ho sakta hai, anything. But I think finding the rabbit hole is important.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
This was really
All right.
amazing. I will not enter this business for sure, but thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
man.
appreciate you this time.
But you have an ability to listen well, because I've done other podcasts where the person is always thinking what the next question should be. You're not listening intently, but you have a tremendous ability to listen.
Thanks.
So I think, and I believe it's the most underrated quality in people.
अगर आपको ये बिजनेस पॉडकास्ट पसंद आया तो आपको आई बटन पे क्लिक करके हमारी प्लेलिस्ट देखनी चाहिए, जहाँ पे हम बहुत सारे फाउंडर्स को बुलाते हैं अलग अलग इंडस्ट्री से और उनसे बात करते हैं एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में और उन्होंने कैसे स्टार्ट किया। इससे आप सीख के आप भी कल खुद का बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर सकते हो। सो आई बटन पे क्लिक करके वो प्लेलिस्ट जरूर देखना।